The boyfriend of Ashling Murphy, who was murdered by a Roman gypsy, his name Ryan Casey, talks about the potential Irish presidential candidates. This one's amazing, guys. You love to see it. Ryan Casey, obviously more right-leaning, more conservative. The Irish government did nothing for him when his girlfriend was disgustingly murdered. And I want to ask a question to all the Irish politicians and all the Irish state and everybody, the presidential candidates. What did you do when Ashling Murphy got murdered? How have you prevented this from happening again? Have you done anything? They have done literally nothing to prevent this from happening again. Just keep that in mind. Ryan Casey knows this as well. Ryan Casey knows they have done nothing. They haven't given them pepper spray women. They haven't done anything for women ever. They have done nothing. And his girlfriend got murdered for nothing.
Ryan Casey, the boyfriend of murdered school teacher and musician Ashling Murphy, has hit out at the first presidential debate as utterly embarrassing and infuriating to watch. Casey, who settled a defamation case against the BBC in July over comments made about his victim impact statement, said that spoiling your vote is far more powerful than not voting at all in the wake of the debate broadcast this week on Virgin Media. In a social media post, Casey said that as a young Irish citizen and taxpayer, tonight was utterly embarrassing and infuriating to watch. This is why Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and so many of our TDs and local county councillors undemocratically blocked highly popular presidential candidates like Nick Delahanty and Maria Steen from getting on the ballot, as they would have ripped these three utterly incompetent, unrelatable, shallow puppet candidates to shreds with their common sense, wit, intelligence, relatability and willingness to bring to light in the correct manner what challenges we are truly facing as a country and what we can do about it.
Oh, absolutely. I said this like a month ago. So the reason they didn't allow them onto the panel is because they would have won. Because if Maria Steen or Nick Delahanty or somebody else was there debating these candidates, they would have destroyed them. If you can debate them, you can win. But they don't let you debate them. I'll never be allowed onto Virgin Media. If I go on Virgin Media, I'm going to destroy all these nerds, these dorks. That's it, guys. Plain and simple. They don't even have a chance against me. But they'll never let me on these shows because that's it, guys. They're afraid. Kieran Cuckoldry would never have me on his shit news talk show, ever.
Unlike these three, they would have coherently answered the questions being asked. I wholeheartedly urge everyone who still believes in true democracy, true freedom and the right to have your voices heard to turn up to your local polling stations in huge numbers on October 24th and spoil your vote as a protest to government for undemocratically blocking candidates that they feared would win. But what did you think of the debate? Do you agree with Ryan Casey's assessment? Be sure to let us know your reaction in the comments below.
Yeah, 100%. That entire presidential election debate was just disgusting. It was boring. It was just without any intelligence. They all were terrible. They were just all terrible. They had nothing good to say about anything. They didn't talk about immigration. They didn't talk about anything that actually matters to the people. The number one thing, immigration, housing, they talked about a little bit, but they didn't talk about the root cause of housing. They're just like skirting around these issues because they're scared. Yeah, I 100% agree with Ryan Casey, the partner of Ashling Murphy, who, like I said before, they did nothing for her. How are you going to prevent future Ashling Murphys? They didn't do anything. They have nothing, guys. Oh, take martial arts classes. What is that going to do? Martial arts, the guy has a knife. What are you talking about? You need weapons to protect against psychopaths that are flooding into the country. These people are trained. These are Roma gypsies. They're Al-Qaeda that are flooding into Ireland. It's crazy stuff. But I love the way he said, yes, absolutely turn up to your local polling stations on October 24th and spoil your vote as a protest to government for undemocratically blocking candidates that they feared would win. It's not that they feared would win. They knew that they would win. They knew that they would. I would agree with Ryan Casey, and I would go one step further. They knew that they would win, guys. Could you imagine if Maria Steen was let on the ballot? She is unbelievable. She looks like a supermodel. The husband looks like James Bond. I mean, it's just unbelievable. They're just scared. And these woke lefties with the obeseness and the blue hair and the nose ring, of course they hate them. Of course they hate these good-looking couple that can relate to people, that are lawyers, they're barristers, they're like high up educated people. Of course people on the left are afraid of these people. They can't touch them with a 10-foot barge pole. They couldn't touch them in a debate or a flippin' IQ test, let's be honest. Next we have Declan Ganley on News Talk Radio with Kieran Cuckoldry. talking about the upcoming election and how he's going to spoil his vote, as I would recommend everybody else to do as well.
Number with me now, though, is Declan Ganley, the businessman and entrepreneur. Declan, those who would follow you on social media will be aware of your calls for people not to vote for any of those three candidates we saw on the television last night, but rather to spoil their vote in the upcoming presidential election. Tell me, why is it you think people should spoil their vote?
Well, I think the reason to spoil a vote on this occasion is, I mean, there's a long history in democracy of having the option to do a write-in. For example, Senator Lisa Malkowski in Alaska was elected on a write-in. Even in student unions, they have basically a request to be able to reopen nominations. That option is not available on this ballot paper. On this ballot paper, for reasons that I won't get into right this second, we have what I think many others consider to be a curated set of candidates who are all of a particular political perspective.
They're all left-leaning, liberal, woke weirdos, all three of them, in every regard. And not even that, they're backed by this left-wing agenda. Not that I disagree with everything they're saying. Some of them say great stuff, absolutely. But for the majority, backed by Sinn Féin, backed by these left parties, People Before Profit, you know, all these different crazy parties, nobody wants to vote for that. We already have that in office. We want to see a change in the country. The majority of people want to see a change in the country. Could you imagine if everybody spoiled their vote and actually put Maria Steen instead of all the other three candidates, and Maria Steen won? That shows the government there's a no vote in confidence. That's a great way to show the government that what you're doing is wrong. They have to know that what you're doing is wrong. Maria Steen should be on this ballot, and she would have won because we're all going to vote for her.
And we don't have somebody to vote for. So in that scenario, it would be a waste to sit at home and not to vote, or to vote for somebody that you do not feel represents you and gives you voice. In that situation, what I am suggesting is go in, cast your ballot. Democracy was hard won in this country. We should exercise our right to cast a ballot, spoil the vote, write whatever you want on the ballot. Write, if you're a Maria Steen supporter, write Maria Steen. If you're a Nick Delahanty supporter, write Nick Delahanty. If it's a cost of living, if it's uncontrolled immigration, whatever your issue is, you can write it on the ballot and make sure you do not express a preference for one of the listed candidates, because otherwise that will be registered as a vote for them, or could be. With cast the spoiled ballot in the ballot box, it will be counted, and we will have a count on the day. In fact, after the first count of so-called spoiled ballots, that will be a voice of protest, and much better than going to a march or doing an online protest where you can't count the heads and the numbers are disputed. Every single one of those ballots have to be counted. And if they're not counted, it doesn't count. Go in, cast a spoiled ballot if you are not happy with what you're being presented with on the ballot paper.
Absolutely amazing. Well said by Declan Ganley. I would advise everyone to write Maria Steen or Nick Delahanty. I would say everyone to write Maria Steen, though, let's be honest, because we want to put forward one candidate. I don't want to hear about anybody else now. Maria Steen has to be that one. Let's all come together as people, put Maria Steen down, and then I would say, like, you know, uncontrolled illegal immigration, housing, the economy, you know, start listing your things that you think that are wrong with the country, to be perfectly honest, 100%. And it would be amazing to see the government looking at this. Oh, wow, we should have had her on the ballot. Let's do another vote. Like, could you imagine if Maria Steen won unanimously? They couldn't give the vote in good conscience to the next person, which is probably going to be Catherine Connery. Catherine Connery is probably going to win the election. But let's say we all voted for Maria Steen. It would be amazing to see what the government would come up with then. Oh, well, Maria Steen won, but she wasn't on the ballot. We're going to go for the second place candidate. Imagine that, guys. That would be pretty terrible. So, of course, we're back to the tricolour debate. The Irish government hate people flying the Irish tricolour. They hate them so much that they actually send them cease and desist letters. Look at this. A mother in Coolock received a letter threatening eviction if she did not remove the tricolour from the exterior of her home. So they're going to kick her out of the property if she doesn't remove the Irish flag. Could you imagine how unpatriotic? I mean, our ancestors are rolling in their graves watching this. This is crazy. Clued Housing stated that they will visit the property to ensure that the breach of tenancy has been remedied. So they're actually going to, so they got a complaint. Somebody's flying an Irish flag. Obviously some left woke weirdo, blue hair hippie said, oh my God, the Irish flag, that's bad. So then they got a complaint, they got a call up. And then this Clued shitty housing service said, there's antisocial behavior going on. You have to remove this flag, hanging flag from your duplex unit. You've been contacted about this on 12th of September. If it's not removed, you will be removed and the breach of tenancy will happen. They're going to actually visit the property to find out whether or not they actually did that. Disgusting, guys. This is just one step closer to the globalist tyranny that they want in this country. Here we have Ben Scallon lastly talking about how the far-right flag is now a insult to the people that are coming into the country. Now immigrants, illegal immigrants and people coming into the country don't want this flag flying. They actually want to see that it's completely disgusting, but they have no problem flying LGBT flags. They have no problem flying any other flag apart from the own country's flag. Great stuff.
So actually stop and think about what's going on here for a moment. All of this is being done in an effort to combat the so-called far right. And you'll notice that the people who make these arguments have no problem celebrating other countries' flags. They're happy to fly the flag of other countries like Palestine or Ukraine. In January 2025, Cork City Council raised Pakistani flags in the City Hall to recognise Pakistani Independence Day. They'll fly gay, bisexual and non-binary pride flags or EU flags or UN flags. The only flag that they object to being flown is the Irish flag. So to put it another way, their way of stopping the far right is by telling Irish people that the only flag that should be taken down is the one that represents your nation, your history, and your cherished traditions. You can go to hell. Everyone else takes precedence over you in your own country. That is the actual position of official Ireland. We even have journalists admitting that now when they see the tricolour flying outside a house, they assume that the people in that household are a pack of racists.
Mick, we were talking about this already this morning. You think that the tricolour really has been taken by the far right, and when you see one flying, I know certainly when I see one flying now, I'm much more likely to think, well, that's probably a racist household than maybe a national pride one.
Oh.
Yeah, Sean, I mean, I think there's a case to be made for that.
So there's already a substantial...
What a bunch of retards. What, because you see an Irish flag, you think people are racist bigots all of a sudden? I mean, these are the low IQ, left-wing psychopaths that are running this country, guys.
Section of the population who feel disenfranchised and like the establishment is out to get them. And what is the response of politicians and the media? Well, to make an enemy of the Irish tricolour itself and to pick a fight with anyone who wants to fly their own nation's flag in public. If they were literally going out of their way to try and radicalise people, it's hard to imagine how they could do a better job. If taking down Irish flags is the hill that official Ireland wants to die on, then be my guest. But it is one of the most needlessly disastrous unforced errors in history.
100% agree. I mean, it's crazy stuff. They have changed the narrative of the Irish flag, bringing people together, bringing the North, the white for peace, and the green for Ireland together. They've changed that narrative into now everyone in this country being racist bigots that hates everybody and that hates immigrants, when that's the furthest thing from the truth whatsoever. Absolutely insane. Let me know your thoughts on that. I love you guys all. If you want to support me, hit the join link underneath the video. Become a member today. For just €3 per month can help support me push back against the mainstream media. I think we have like 31 members now, so I greatly appreciate the love and support. I will see you all in the next one, guys. Peace.